What is up, everyone? Welcome to FPL Game Week 23 Transfer Plans. Buy or sell or even avoid lip. Basically, it's a brand new series which we will be doing live, right? It's a live stream so that I can try and interact with anyone in the chat. And you can ask me questions on which players you're looking to buy, which players you're looking to sell ahead of Game Week 23. Now, Game Week 22 is currently going on. And I'm on 80 points right now with a -8 with Triple United still to play. Triple Captain Rashford did go pretty well, to be honest, I got to say. Fernandez, also the move for KDB worked out pretty sweetly. Although Nketiah and Mahrez, the other two players I bought in for Martinelli and Martial, on the other hand, hasn't really paid off. So overall, I'm 3 points up on that -8. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, 3 more players to play. And Green Arrow has taken me significantly up into the top 1 million, now 761k. So we'll see, the climb is going. So we'll be looking at basically every single match that has happened so far, and going through each and every individual one, just kind of like looking at which players we'll be looking to buy or sell from each one of these teams. Now, having said all of that, let me move to the transfer page because that's going to help us a bit. And we're going to have a look at the players who are currently being transferred in quite a lot. So in goal, we've got Kepa and Pope. Interesting. Even though Pope is having a blank coming up, I think people are still trying to double up on defense, I guess. Ben Mee, because of his goal scored, even though fixtures, the next one is a bit tough. And a blank also in 25. So that's people just reacting to the goal. Shaw, Shah, quite a lot of these are like players who've got blanks coming up, which is very interesting. Mitoma, I agree, Mitoma is having a blank coming up, but he's just on a whole level of form, to be honest, at the moment. Saka, Mahrez, because of the double, Odegaard, Rashford, Fernandez, I guess people still looking at the points returns and taking them in. Nketiah and Kane, that kind of makes sense, to be honest. In terms of transfers out, we've got Tin. How are you doing? Welcome. Tin is not on the transfers out, but in terms of transfers out, Ward and Allison kind of makes sense. Trent, I don't know how people still have Trent, but here they are. Saliba, Castanege, Stones, Robertson, yep. Almiron, I guess makes sense. He hasn't showed up too much, so he's getting sold in mass. Martinelli got subbed out before 60 minutes. Rodrigo obviously injured. Salah has been missing ever since he got his new contract. Solly March, I guess people trying to switch to Mitoma on a sideways move. KDB, who is getting benched these days for some reason. Casemiro on his red card, obviously. Tony, Mitrovic not performing. Havertz also not performing. Darwin not performing. Gabriel Jesus still out injured. Okay. Some of the transfers out actually make sense. The transfers in are very interesting, to be honest. But we still have games to go. Let's have a look at first the Spurs versus Manchester City game, shall we? So that's our first look. We're going to use SofaScore for these kind of videos. Going forward, let me know if you are okay with me using this, or do you think there's like a better tool I can use to like review the games that I've played, just to kind of get an understanding of how players performed and in terms of formations and whatnot. Now, Spurs versus City. Having watched the highlights for this game back, now obviously the blue bar does show City dominating quite a bit, but Spurs did have their chances, and whenever they had their chances, I think they were pretty decent chances as well, to be honest. So I can see City dominating, but it wasn't really too much as well, except for those last few minutes. And the first few minutes, there wasn't too much domination from City, to be honest. Add to that, Pep Guardiola dropping KDB. He dropped KDB in the last game as well, to be honest, against Spurs, and they won that. Okay, fair play, but still, he's your best midfielder. Why are you dropping him? I have no idea. But yeah, KDB got dropped. Doesn't look ahead of a double for Manchester City at this point. I don't even know if I would advise bringing KDB in, to be honest, because will he get both games? He probably gets the Arsenal game. I don't think Pep Guardiola risked too much in that, but then again, he should have not risked it in the Spurs game as well. But you never know. He'll get the Arsenal game. It's the Aston Villa game. Will KDB start? I think so, because he got benched on this one, so I'm assuming he does. In terms of Mahrez, I thought Mahrez was one of their best players at the first half, and then you get taken off before 60 minutes. Not really sure why, but I guess it's because KDB to operate on that side. I don't know if I would have done that, but I guess Pep does Pep things, right? Pep roulette strikes again, basically. In terms of Spurs, Harry Kane is still one of the best assets to own in this game. Probably the second best premium in the game as well, to be honest. And also with the fixtures that he has coming up, I'm glad I kept him. I mean, Leicester is not really a 3 at this point. They're probably a 2. Chelsea, you never know with this Chelsea team, the way they're performing, we don't know what's going to happen. It's probably just Brighton in Game Week 30. I mean, look at this set of fixtures. Even after Brighton in Game Week 30, he's got United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I wouldn't count Chelsea. So he's got between 32 to 34 is when the tough fixtures are. 32 Newcastle, 33 United, 34 Liverpool. Liverpool as well, at this point, you wouldn't say Liverpool. Liverpool are like Chelsea. Probably Chelsea are actually better than Liverpool at this point because of the amount of goals that Liverpool are conceding. But I think this is like a fixture run that you would just keep Harry Kane till the end of the season kind of run. That's what it looks for me. I'm happy to keep Harry Kane. Obviously, he doesn't have any games in hand, so doubles will play a part. But I still think even though doubles do appear, I am happy to keep him. The only part I think where we might change our tune slightly is when you get that one major big double. I think that's in 34 or something. So we'll have to see where exactly that big double is, and then based on that, we'll kind of have to react whether we keep Harry Kane if he doesn't have a double in that or not. Now, apart from Harry Kane, other Spurs players, I probably wouldn't look at anyone else at the moment, to be honest. I don't think anyone else is actually worth bringing in, even though they did win 1-0. I think Kane is just, FPL points wise, he's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Haaland, Alvarez. I mean, City wise, it's probably Haaland, to be honest. Only Haaland. I can't really look into anyone else and think that they're going to do well. The rest of City players at this point, I can't tell you. Maybe Nathan Ake for defense, but City aren't really keeping clean sheets recently. So Haaland and maybe KDB, Mahrez, you still could be decent. But to be honest, if you had Bruno Fernandes right now, I'll ask you this question. If you had Bruno Fernandes, would you sell Bruno Fernandes for KDB? Let me know in the comments. So for those of you who have KDB, for those of you who sold KDB, let me actually record this and I'll put it as a clip. For those of you who sold KDB for Bruno Fernandes, are you looking to bring back KDB in for Bruno Fernandes, or has your mind changed in terms of maybe bringing in Mahrez or some other City player ahead of the double game week 23? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested to know. Or are you keeping Bruno Fernandes? Let me know in the comments as well. I want to know about all of that. So let me know in the comments what your decisions are with regards to that. Having said that, probably Haaland at this point. In terms of stats, City didn't really create much. Spurs ended up creating more XG. Even though City had most of the possession, didn't really do too much with it as well, to be honest. So, yeah, I think City just been poor. We'll see. I still think Haaland's the best captaincy against Aston Villa. We'll have a look at the Aston Villa game as well. They conceded quite a lot of goals. But is that Arsenal game that I think we'll have to see what's going to happen. Pep has a habit of overthinking stuff. So we'll see anyways. So that's the Spurs City. In terms of players I would buy, I still think Kane is a good buy. Haaland, I mean, everyone has Haaland at this point. In terms of players, other players from Spurs that I would buy, no one. From City, I would buy. I still think Mahrez is a decent option to start for both games for the double game week 23. KDB, I still think he is a decent option. Probably the third best City option still, even though he got that bench in. But to be honest, I don't think KDB is an essential player at this point. That's just my feeling. Just because of the price value, he's not delivering according to his price value. That's the kind of feeling I'm getting. In terms of defense from City, probably Ake only at this point, to be honest. I can't really suggest anyone else at the moment. In terms of sell City players, to be honest, if you're thinking of selling KDB to Saka, right? And you wanted, let's say, triple Arsenal, you didn't have triple Arsenal, and you wanted to bring in Saka, and KDB was that player you wanted to sell to bring Saka, I wouldn't be against it. In terms of selling, yeah, City, I mean, now you Apart from that, I don't think you actually sell anyone, to be honest. And Spurs, if you have Kane, you keep Kane. Anyone else you have, I don't know why you have them at the moment, because points wise, they're not really delivering anyone else. Okay, now let's move into the Leeds versus Forest game. This game should have kind of not actually finished 1-0, to be honest. Keylor Navas was like a lot of saves. You can see where the momentum of the game is. Leeds just poor finishing. Nyato, for anyone who bought Nyato in, let's actually go to the lineup, right? He actually played pretty decently, I thought, right? And you can kind of see he was the main, in terms of player rating, he got the highest out of the entire attacking lineup. Sinisterra had chances, missed them quite a lot, to be honest. Bamford also poor in terms of finishing. Like the finishing from Leeds was quite poor in that game. Forest did give quite a lot of chances, but finishing in general was pretty poor. I was a bit surprised that Serge Aurier didn't start, but then I guess they brought him in on the 46th minute. Ideally, this is going to be a problem for me, because if Game Week 25, if he doesn't start, I'm in a bit of a problem. So I need to see that he starts in Game Week 25. We'll have to have a look and see. But Serge Aurier did come in Game Week 25 to kind of like, in the second half to kind of lock down that right back spot, because Nico Williams was more inwards and Leeds from Nyato were basically targeting that area, and they were getting their chances created from that specific area. So poor finishing from Leeds. I mean, not really convinced by them at all, to be honest. Someone to kind of keep an eye out would be, for me, Somerville. I think we've seen what Somerville has been capable of in the past, just before the World Cup. He is someone I would probably keep an eye out for, because he could be a decent option. Now, in terms of Leeds, to be honest, let's move to Leeds. Their fixtures, they do play in Game Week 25. Somerville, 4.2 million. Fixtures aren't the best, to be honest. That's the only thing. So it's a very short-term punt if you wanted a fifth midfielder who probably plays in Game Week 25. You still have Almiron, like myself. Yes. If Somerville does get minutes by then, we know Waves is previously post-World Cup. Decent run. He is kind of capable of delivering. So I'll probably keep an eye out for Somerville. In terms of buying and selling from either teams, no one. I wouldn't buy anyone at the moment, and I wouldn't even... would I sell? If you had Nyato, you bought Nyato, I wouldn't sell him. I'll just keep him. If you had anyone else from Forest, just keep them, because Game Week 25, especially if you have a defender, keep them, because you might need them in Game Week 25. Wouldn't recommend buying. Just monitor Somerville for Leeds. Could be pretty decent option. And maybe if he does actually get back his form, could be a decent option for Game Week 25. Brennan Johnson doing well, but I still probably wouldn't look into it for that third striker spot, to be honest. Not really too many standout options and not consistent enough as well. So that's Forest versus Leeds. Nothing too much to say except for the fact that Leeds were poor in terms of finishing. You can see the XG as well. Should have done better, to be honest. Let's move into Newcastle versus West Ham, where, interestingly enough, Newcastle actually conceded a goal. Here we go. Now, this kind of gives an idea of it kind of tells you where the game went. Newcastle didn't really do much, as you can see. I think they've got into... The problem with Newcastle right now is they've got to a point where their XG is kind of falling as well. They're not creating as much as they used to previously compared to post-World Cup. So the amount of goals they're scoring also has kind of reduced a bit. Now, obviously, they did try and boost that up in the the end of the second half, but then that was because they were going for the game and West Ham were just happy to take a point. In terms of buy, sell, if you have double Newcastle defense, I will still keep it until Game Week 24, unless you need to get them out because you kind of need to make some transfers to get a full 11 out by Game Week 25. Then I don't mind doing selling one of your Newcastle defenders, because they got Liverpool, which is most likely, at the rate that Liverpool are playing right now, probably a clean sheet for Newcastle. Bournemouth should be a good fixture. City, depends on what City turn up. I expect a very close game in this one, to be honest. But if you wanted to sell one Newcastle defender, go for it. I don't think it's the worst decision. But I would probably keep them at least until 23 against Bournemouth. 24 as well, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a clean sheet here in this game. But you can sell if you wanted to by the time you get to 24. In terms of buying, I wouldn't buy any Newcastle players. I've seen, obviously, we did notice that in terms of the transfers in Pope, Shah, I don't really know if I would recommend buying Newcastle players at the moment straight away. Just because of the fact that there's the blank very close by. And defensive wise, the upside isn't worth it compared to you having to take a hit again, probably to get rid of them in 25. So it's not worth the upside at the moment for defenders. Attackers, I probably wouldn't look at anyone for Newcastle at the moment. Almiron is probably a sell as fast as you can. The only problem is I can't find the as fast as you can button at the moment because of whoever I bring in at the moment for at least Game Week 23 are most likely going to get benched. So yeah, Almiron is probably here to stay for another week, at least in my team. It's also hard because I have 3 strikers who I don't really want to bench at the moment, unless it's Nketiah. That's a possibility. West Ham, on the other hand, kind of getting back to what made them decent, like defending properly, trying to defend properly, keeping it tight. Would I buy any West Ham players? Not at the moment, to be honest. I think you can wait on West Ham. I don't think their fixture list is as well. It's not really kind, to be honest, as you can see. Bit of a mixed bag of fixtures. I probably wouldn't buy any West Ham players. It's just a wait and see how they do. In terms of where would I buy them, I can't really see, to be honest. Like, there is no clear run of games for West Ham, like players to buy in. So unless someone hits some insane form, at the moment there is no buying players from West Ham, to be honest. So yeah, that's West Ham versus Newcastle. In terms of buying, selling, no one at the moment. Just keep who you have in terms of Newcastle players, unless Almiron is a sell. West Ham, just monitor, don't buy situation. United versus Crystal Palace now. 2-1. Looked very comfortable until Casemiro got sent off. Bruno Fernandes is on pens. I think a lot of United fans already knew that he was the main penalty taker, but now it's kind of confirmed for the rest as well, that he is the main penalty taker. Unless for some reason that, like, let's say Rashford is on a hat-trick, then he'll get the penalty. But Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United's main penalty taker. In terms of a buy and sell kind of situation, I think you keep your United players. I don't think I would sell Fernandes at this moment. I don't think I had the money because I already do a -4 to even get KDB. But if I had the money as well, I don't know if I want to get KDB back in. I'm happy with Fernandes. I'm happy with Mahrez and Haaland. So I'll probably keep your United players because the next 2 fixtures are also pretty good. Leeds twice and Leicester. Good games for attacking returns. Casemiro is out, obviously. A bit of a problem there in terms of defensively, but I still think they should be fine against Leeds and Leicester. So it's a good fixtures. You can hold them until Game Week 24 if you wanted to, and then after that you can decide who you want to sell. Probably keep Rashford when it comes to that point, but then we'll do a video during that time and I'll give you my results then. But for now, keep. If you're selling, it's Casemiro you're selling. If you're buying, Rashford is still a good option to buy. Shaw is still decent option to buy, but depends on who you have in defense. So it's a team dependent situation. Fernandes, would you buy Fernandes now? I mean, probably not because of there's no double, and also the blank is coming soon. So Fernandes is a slightly different situation. I can't see you, like, I'm not sure if you want to keep Fernandes for a long term kind of situation. That's the only problem. But Rashford, sure, pretty good options to be honest. In terms of Crystal Palace, buying and selling at the moment, no one really. I wouldn't buy anyone, and I don't know if you have anyone at this point. I don't know what you're doing with them. I would probably sell them. Fixtures also, are they great? Let me have a look. Nah, fixtures are also bad. So if you have Crystal Palace players, sell. So that's United, Crystal Palace. Let's move on to Wolves versus Liverpool. You know, this chart shows that Wolves had very little attacking threat in the second half, and quite a bit in the first half. Even though that was the case, whenever the Wolves went forward, they felt like a threat. At this point, you can drive a tractor through Liverpool's midfield and defense, and you could still score. That's how poor they're doing. Is SofaScore doing this on like? Oh no, it's a half. I thought SofaScore were like going like, oh, Klopp said 2-0 only, so they've also done that. But no. In terms of lineups, I mean, Wolves defensively slightly improving under Lopetegui, and their fixtures are still pretty decent. Good for game week 25. I mean, there could be a couple clean sheets in here. My only problem was, if you have Bueno like me, he got dropped. I don't know why he got dropped, but that's going to be a problem for game week 25. I'm just going to keep him for now, see whether he gets back into the team. But him getting dropped is a bit of a problem for game week 25. So, again, that's something else we kind of have to think. What are you going to do with with Bueno if you have him? Let me know in the comments. But in terms of, I mean, that's the only one. Like, in terms of any other Wolves players I would buy, I think Tillman, as you can see, 8.6 rating. I think Tillman is still actually a really good option to buy. Good fixtures, 4.3 as well. In terms of price point, he's actually pretty good. So 4.3 Tillman with those fixtures, and game week 25, they got Fulham as well. Really good set of fixtures. I don't mind buying Tillman as a player to actually bring in for game week 25. So Tillman is a buy. In terms of other Wolves players, no one really. I wouldn't get anyone. Just defensively, I'll probably be looking. Selling, in terms of, you have Bueno, probably wait and see. Don't sell. It's a monitor situation. Let's get to Liverpool. Defense. If you have any Liverpool defender at this point, I don't even know what to say. Because at this point, I'm slightly torn in two minds. They could potentially have a double in 25. Right? That is a possibility. But if that doesn't come, are you really wanting to keep them against Merseyside derby next week? Everton under new manager could do well, to be honest, could bounce back. Newcastle is a tough game. Palace could cause troubles. Then United, I mean, doesn't really shout clean sheets. So if you have Liverpool defense, I probably would sell Liverpool defense if you had them. Liverpool attack. What are you all doing with Salah? I want to know what you're going to do with Salah. If you have Salah right now, are you selling Salah or are you keeping Mohamed Salah? Let me know. The running of fixtures is Everton, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Man United, and Bournemouth, and Fulham before they face City and Arsenal as well. So tough run of fixtures for Salah. I would say somewhat tough based on his current form. If they do get a doubling game week in 25, I don't know. Are you going to keep him in that hope that he gets a double in 25, or are you looking to sell him? If you are looking to sell Salah, for who is that? Let me know in the comments as well. I want to know. But at the moment, for me personally, if I had Salah, I would sell Salah for maybe someone who's doubling. Saka, I would sell Salah for Saka at this point. If you don't have Saka and you want to get your third Arsenal player, I would do it, to be honest. Even for Mahrez or KDB, I actually don't mind selling Salah. It's just his form has been pretty bad recently, and even the fixtures, even though they look kind of okay, doesn't warrant for the price tag. That's my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and yeah, let's continue. So Liverpool, not for me. Probably sell. Their best, and the entire team at this point is basically in the sell territory, unless they get a double game week in 25. The team in general is like a sell and wait till they get form back kind of situation. Aston Villa versus Leicester City. This, I mean, talk about goal fest. First of all, Iheanacho. Oh no, what happened? I lost it. First of all, Iheanacho, right? Where did it go? Is Klopp going to... Not Klopp. Is Brendan Rodgers going to continue to start Iheanacho? Because when this guy starts, he's actually a pretty good option, right? He's a really good player to have in your FPL teams when he does start. The problem is, Brendan Rodgers doesn't start him often. Now, he's a good option. Fixtures are tough though. That's the only problem, I'll tell you. So you can kind of wait. You don't have to rush into it. After 26 to 30 is not too bad, but to be honest, the run that we are looking for is 32 to 35. That's the kind of a Leicester run that we'll be looking for. So at the moment, you can kind of monitor and wait and see how Iheanacho does and see whether he actually cements himself as a permanent player. But he's one to watch. And also Madison back on the schedule. I mean, back on the radar actually. One to watch as well. Tete also very interesting. New signing. Will be interested to see how he does. In terms of defense, no one. If you have Ward as your second goalkeeper, keep him, I guess. Nothing else I can say, to be honest. But yeah, that's it for me. Leicester, I think it's a monitor, don't buy. Monitor James Madison, monitor Tete, and monitor Iheanacho. Those are 3 players to monitor. In terms of Villa, now, even though Villa did concede 4 goals, they do play in Game Week 25. Now, Villa defense, they do play City next, so expect a hammering in that as well. And they are trying to play out from the back. Kind of cost them a goal also to be considered. Now, in terms of fixtures, apart from the City and Arsenal game in 23 and 24, it's a pretty small 25 to 28 decent spot. So you can kind of monitor some Villa players as well. Watkins is someone I don't mind monitoring, see how he does against City and Arsenal. Could be a decent option for the Everton game. Buendia for a 5th midfielder. Now that he's back playing a bit more minutes than before under Steven Gerrard, he's a decent option as well. I would monitor him. In terms of Villa defense, probably not at the moment. A monitor for maybe Minks because of the price point, but actually even cash for the price point could be maybe, I don't know, not really. Yeah, probably Minks at the moment, monitor, but I wouldn't recommend any Villa defense at the moment, to be honest. I think they will concede goals. So that's Villa. Both Villa and Leicester, it's a monitor, wait and see. Brighton versus Bournemouth. Now, Dr. Dribble, Bournemouth and Brighton. Bournemouth didn't really offer too much. Brighton, though, how does Mitoma keep getting returns? The guy is doing well, to be honest. Gets a header as well out of all ways to score. Mitoma is at this point, even though he does have a blank, if you can get him into your 5th midfielder or 4th midfielder, I would buy him. I just think Brighton's fixtures are still very good, right? Even though they're blank, their fixtures are still very good. And even after the blank, they're still going to be having really good fixtures, doubles potentially, and I think a lot more people are going to be on Mitoma come 26 compared to now. Crystal Palace and Fulham are still 2 good fixtures, to be honest, even though they're blank. So if you can fit him in, I unfortunately can't because I'll be starting these 4 midfielders and the front line as well, so I can't really find a spot for Mitoma to start in my attacking slot. But if you could fit him in, I would do that, and I would look to get him in if you can, because I think it's a pretty good option, even though there's a blank coming up. In terms of defense for Brighton, to be honest, they were really lucky to keep a clean sheet. There were chances from Bournemouth, and I think if there was a better attacking team, they would have scored those chances. So clean sheet wise, I think you kind of wait. You don't have to move on to a Brighton defense right now, especially with a blank coming up for Brighton defense. I wouldn't move. Bournemouth, I think you can just don't buy anyone. No need to monitor anyone as well, to be honest. Brentford versus Southampton. Brentford scored 3 goals and Ivan Toney didn't get a single goal. Wait, what? How? Is something that everyone would be asking. But yes, Brentford scored 3 goals and Ivan Toney didn't get anything. The problem is Ivan Toney, I was looking at the highlights and the guy is not in those spots at times when you want him to be at. He just tends to move about as a striker. He doesn't actually stay in that central spot, so it's kind of hard for him to get points at times. Ben Mee scoring, I mean, how many former Burnley players are going to be scoring in a single game week, right? But Ben Mee getting on the books. In terms of players to buy, now Brentford, the problem is Brentford are another team, unfortunately, that do blank. But David Raya has been keeping, I know the fixtures are slightly a bit of a mixed bag, and if you didn't have Kepa, I would still probably go for Kepa, but Raya has also, if you have Raya, silently be keeping, he's been ticking over points in the last few game weeks, since the restart as well, 9 point over here as well. So he's a decent option as a goalkeeper as well for anyone who doesn't have a goalkeeper, doesn't have like a proper goalkeeper, has Rhea, doesn't have Kepa, probably doesn't want to go for Kepa. I don't know why you wouldn't go for Kepa, but I would probably go. But if you had Rhea, I would keep Rhea. Good option. Defensive wise, unfortunately, because they're blank, can't recommend anyone. And forward line, nah. If you had Tony, I wouldn't be against selling Tony ahead of the Arsenal game. Because Arsenal and Crystal Palace, I'm not sure how much you're going to get. So I wouldn't be against selling Tony for Nketiah if you wanted to be honest, because Nketiah will play in Gaming 25. So I don't mind selling Tony. In terms of Southampton, no money, don't monitor anyone. It's not worth it at the moment. They are just leaking goals at this point. If anything, I would probably look at who's actually playing Southampton and then try and target them. Like try and get in the opposition basically. That's kind of what I would think of doing at the moment. So that's Brentford, Southampton. Up next, Everton, Arsenal. New manager bombs, Sean Dyche, tactical masterclass. And I mean, imagine players who linked up, McNeil and Tarkowski linking up for the goal. I mean, Everton played really well in this game. I think they deserved it. They deserved to win that game. They played really well. And if you look at the XG, 1.67 compared to 0.91 in the whole game, Everton definitely deserved to win that. Arsenal, poor. Martin Odegaard was poor in that game. He got subbed off. Martinelli came off before 60 minutes. I think Martinelli is at this point at a sell state. If you can sell Martinelli and get in Saka, I'm all for that. Even if it's not a sideways move. So actually, let me actually record that as a clip. If you have Gabriel Martinelli, I probably would make the sideways move to Bukayo Saka because I think he's still a significantly better option going forward as well. People might say it's a sideways move. Why are you making it? I probably would make it. He didn't get 60 minutes in the last game. I think Saka is a much better option than Martinelli at this point. Even for Odegaard, if you can't afford Saka, Odegaard is still probably a better option. I know Odegaard didn't have a good game in the last one, but he's still the captain, most likely to play more minutes than Martinelli as well over the double. And with Trossard having decent cameos, I won't be surprised if Martinelli eventually gets more minutes, kind of reduced in terms of benching. He might get a few benchings as well at times, getting rotated. I expect Martinelli to be someone who is probably easy to sell. Let me know if you have Martinelli. Are you selling him ahead of Game Week 23? Let me know in the comments as well. Looking forward to hearing what you say. Now, Everton though, I think they have good fixtures coming up, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they do. Look at that. 24-27 is a good run. Would you buy an Everton defense? Playing Aston Villa in 25 as well. Would you buy an Everton defender? I wouldn't be against it, is what I would say. Not now itself. You still have another week. They obviously play Liverpool next. Would keep a clean sheet there, to be honest. But they play Liverpool next. Kind of wait and see what Everton look like. Was this a one-off, or is Dyche actually implementing their defensive style, getting them to do better? Then we can kind of have a look and see, all right, which defender do we want? We kind of get a bit more information. We kind of need a bit more information from Sean Dyche to kind of see which Everton defender could be a decent option. Attacking wise, at the moment, I think it's a wait. Kind of wait and see how they do. Calvert-Lewin, too expensive at the moment, so I wouldn't really buy. So from Everton, it's a monitor, defense monitor. Don't buy anyone, don't sell anyone. Or, well, I don't know. If you have Tarkowski, I mean, okay, cool. But I'm assuming people don't have too many Everton players, so yeah. It's a don't buy but monitor situation. Just wait for another game week to get a bit more information. Arsenal, on the other hand, who would I sell? Martinelli, I think, is a sell. In terms of players to buy, I think Saka and Odegaard would be my top two priorities for buying. And then defense, I think a lot of people already have defenders in terms of Arsenal, so I wouldn't look into doubling up on defense. I don't think that's wise given the fixtures as well, and they don't really keep clean sheets often. Nketiah, would I say it's a buy? Depends. Nketiah is it looked better last week compared to now. he's in a bit of an awkward position. I think I don't mind him as a third best option at the moment in terms of the attack to buy. So for the moment, until Gabriel Jesus does come back, Nketiah is still a pretty decent option to get in. For the double as well, I think he's a pretty good option to buy. So that's Arsenal versus Everton, and now the final game, Chelsea versus Fulham. 0-0. In terms of players to buy, this is very easy. Kepa from Chelsea, buy. Would I double up on Chelsea defense? Probably, but sometimes I like Payne, because Reece James, we know what he's done before in the past in terms of the points. Obviously, the ones and zeros are what we're talking about. We're not talking about the 17-digit hauls and whatnot. No. We're talking about the ones and the zeros. We know what Reece James is capable of. Came off on before the 68th minute as well, in typical Reece James style. Now, would he be a player I would buy? I think Potter is trying to ease him in. He's their best defensive attacking player. So Potter is definitely trying to ease him in. Silva, on the other hand, good player. But added to that is Barishiel. Now, this guy is not in the Champions League squad for Chelsea, which means I expect him to play more minutes in the Premier League if he's not going to be playing midweek fixtures in Champions League. So I think Barishiel at 5 million is actually a really good option to get if you wanted to double up on Chelsea defense. Fixtures are pretty decent, and they've shown that defensively they're kind of improving as well. So Barishiel is actually a pretty good option, and I think he will get a lot of Premier League minutes. So if you're looking for this pretty decent run, to be honest, I know the Spurs game is there, but decent run for Chelsea. If you're looking for a defender, he would probably be my second defender of choice to buy right now. In terms of attack, I wouldn't look at anyone else. Mudryk didn't really perform. Havertz is just doing Havertz things. And Ziyech was back for some reason after his loan failed, but I wouldn't buy any attacking Chelsea options at the moment. In terms of Fulham, Mitrovic is a sell for me. I think you have better striker options. If you want to buy Nketiah for Mitrovic, go for it. Andres Pereira, at this point, you might as well just keep with the Game Week 25 coming in. Defense-wise, Tim Ream continues to perform. Captain as well, so should continue to play. So defensive-wise, there is a possibility that they do keep a clean sheet in Game Week 25 against Wolves. That could be a 0-0 if anything. So if you wanted a defender, not a bad option. It's just that the fixtures after that aren't really great. So if you have Tim Ream or if you have a Fulham defender, it's a keep. If you have Pereira, keep. Mitrovic, probably a sell. Wouldn't really look to buy anyone at the moment. I think you have a few other better defensive options that I mentioned earlier. So that's basically it for Game Week 22. From what we're looking at in terms of the fixtures that happened and previewing the Game Week 23 in terms of the players to buy and sell. Hopefully that kind of helps you. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about as well. But that's basically it. Thank you all for watching. If you're new, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Hopefully this video kind of helps people. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if this kind of helps and if you're looking to see something like this in the future as well. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Tin as well for keeping me company and for others also who joined the chat and was involved in the backgrounds. Thank you all. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and thank you all for watching. See you all later.